Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 27 of Wise Wednesdays. I started this initiative on the page when we finished 700 days of daily live videos. The idea was simple. It was to bring people from my circle of genius on board and have heart-led conversations on those little things that make life special. My name is Ruqayya Khan. I am the founder of Smiletastic Life Coaching Enterprise. I'm also in charge of the page that you're on, the different platforms that you might have chosen to be here. Today, I have with me a very special guest, Nishi Shetty. She is a people transformation strategist. She's proficient in different techniques in terms of emotional intelligence, MBTI, DISC, and she is a coach, a trainer, a dear friend, and has 23 years of HR experience that she uses, not just as a trainer, but also as a public speaker. Truly honored to have you on board, Nishi, today, and we will be talking on turning failures around. Thank you for being here, Nishi.
Thank you, Rukia, and thank you everyone who is with us today on this platform. It's my privilege, it's my honor, and very flawed actually to be invited by Rukia, who has been doing this for 27 times and who has been doing daily videos. And today's was 880.
82.
82. So can you
Yes.
imagine to be working with someone who's a dear friend? We started a journey together back in 2010 when we did our NLP together, and our NLP master practitioner. So I and Rukia have been friends. We started a journey together, and now so privileged and honored to be sharing this platform with her. So thank you, Rukia.
Thank you, Nishi. And you have been introduced to the platform even before you came here because on various occasions I've spoken about my breakthrough session and how it actually happened. And we'll delve into that a little later. Now, when I invite a speaker on my platform, I ask them to select the topic that they'd like to speak on. And between so much of experience that she has, with so much of experience that she has, for me, I felt this is going to be really dynamic. And what exactly would you like to speak on? And that came the answer: turning failures around. Nishi, why did you choose that? What's the significance of turning failures around?
Okay, so this topic may seem a very kind of an impossible thing to do, or it could seem as an overpromise to people. However, as you said, I'm a people transformation strategist. So I help people who are having a challenge or a pain of emotional turbulences, and that causes problem in the relationships, be it in the area of career, be it in the area of relationships or health, and I help them transform and lead them towards emotional fitness such that they can achieve any goal that they have set for themselves. Now, being a people transformation strategist, which is my dream, I felt this is one topic during COVID-19, the pandemic era, when people are actually they're feeling like they are failures in many areas. It could be relationships, it could be jobs, career, money. So I felt this is the right time to speak on this subject. And if I can lift the spirits up even by 0.5% of the people, that's my success.
True that. And it's lovely how you already are speaking about turning failures around. And right there, you're talking about how even if you make a tiny little shift, that's your success. And that is the intention of this session that we're having today. So when in 23 years of HR experience, and then you jump board to set yourself up an enterprise, a coaching enterprise of your own. So tell me, what led to that?
Right. So, taking a leap of faith, I have two reasons. One is a professional reason, the other one is a personal reason. Professional reason is fairly simple, which is a reason for most of the people who take this leap of faith during, or they say, midlife crisis. So after 23 years of experience, I realized that I was drawn towards guiding, motivating, inspiring, coaching, helping people transform, and helping people. I was more drawn towards human psychology, which was a bit different from human resources. Human resources, especially in this part of the world, is more operational, administrative. So even if you're doing strategic and operational HR, it was quite different from connecting with people. And then I wanted to break this boundary of working with limited number of people in an organization, and I wanted to reach out to a broader realm of people. And during this COVID-19, the situation helped because you're virtually connected with more people, and I just wanted to do it. And there's another reason that I'll talk about later, an event that happened with me for my health, when I decided that it is time to start ticking off your bucket list. And the
Hmm.
personal reason is that after 23 years of experience in the corporate world, I lost connection with myself.
Hmm.
I couldn't recognize myself. I stopped liking myself. So today, when you asked me to introduce myself, I said I'm a people transformation strategist. Before that, I would say I'm head of HR manager with this organization. So my introduction was limited to the organization, the title, and the job description. Was that me? So I realized now I have to go beyond and go back to me. I wanted to go back to me, to myself, and that was the reason for the leap of faith.
Super. And there, how did personal development and self mastery come to you? What was that reason for actually getting into personal development space?
So in my life story, so we all have a story. In my
Yes.
life story, I have actually hit rock bottom in few areas, and in almost all areas of my life, and I sprang back and I relaunched myself. Now, there was a time, and I'll give you an example of my health story. When I hit rock bottom, and that was the day 7/7/2007, 7th of July 2007, when I had a traumatic road traffic accident, wherein my car turned three times at the speed of, people say, 180, 200. I don't remember. I lost my memory, and I was in the hospital, 4 months in bed, seven fractures, and I have a situation in my brain that, in layman's terms, I can say it is half the size of your brain, of a normal brain. And I have a disease called atrophy, which is incurable. And the motor functions, the cognitive functions are going to dip down. That's what the doctor said. So thankfully, it was a traumatic impact on my brain, and it is not progressing further. However, I have lately seen that my memory is going down. I can't remember names. I can't remember words. And that was the time I decided, if not now, when would it be that I have to start working on myself? And then
Hmm.
and actually it synced very well. It connected very well with human resources, with people development. So I started getting these certifications and applying on myself. So being the master practitioner of NLP was a turning point in my life. Then being a coach, and I did this personality type trainings. And what I did differently was, every time I did a training, every time I got a certification, I started applying it on myself and start sharing the knowledge with other people. And it started helping me. I started progressing in life, and people started seeing the change in themselves when I shared with them. So that kind of inspired me to move on with this.
Hmm. And when you say people transformation strategist, that makes complete sense to me because not on one occasion, but several occasions, you have transformed the way I've thought about various things. So, for example, even this chat that we're having right now, I remember 2 weeks earlier when I called you in a panic saying, I messaged you in a panic saying, Nishi, I just realized Wednesday is coming, October 7th and 14th is coming on Wednesday, and I don't know what to do about it. I was definitely shattered because for those of you who on the page already and from the page itself are aware that, might be aware that 7th is Papa's birthday and 14th is the day he passed. So for me, these are really tough dates. I've broken down on my lives on both I've done the lives across 2 years for it, and for me, even now I'm fumbling, but that's okay because that's what I felt like in that moment when I messaged you. When I felt like, what do I do? Do I jump? Do I abandon ship, or do I just push forward? And you so beautifully said, no, think about it. Maybe it's on a Wednesday because you have something to prove to yourself. Or maybe it's something that is coming up as a universe giving you a challenge. And I did think about it. I thought hard about it. And then we decided to have you on board on one of those dates. But of course, we shuffled it around. But what I'm trying to drive home right now is it's sometimes that simple little thing that you hear from somebody that makes you think that, okay, maybe I'm capable of this. And sometimes that's that little voice that you need to hear, maybe from someone else, maybe from your own self. So your accident, when you shared about it when we were doing our NLP session, gave me goosebumps. Still did when you started speaking about it, because I don't know very many people who get out of 4 months in hospital and say, I'm going to change the world. I'm going to change the world one life at a time. And the first life I change is my own. So hats off to you. And thank you for being the person that you are.
Thank you, Rukia. I think it's a beautiful relationship that we have, and you have come and stood by me and helped me in the paradigm shift on so many occasions where I was stuck, and you took me to the unstuck position. So
Thank you.
it's very mutual exchange.
Thank you. We do have people watching. I'm not aware where you're watching it from. As I mentioned earlier, this is being aired across different platforms. It's on YouTube, it's on Facebook, it's on LinkedIn as well. I'm having a little issue with LinkedIn comments being posted as well as received. So it would be really nice if you could come to either YouTube or to Facebook so that you can share our comments. Please let me know who's watching. Please let us know where you're watching from. And as I said, Nishi is a powerhouse when it comes to people transformation and also understanding personality types, giving you insights on how to turn failure around. So if this is something that you want to have a discussion on, now is your time, and we have her on board with us. I would invite you also to give the platforms some support, maybe a like for the Facebook page, subscribe for YouTube, and let's move forward therefrom. Nishi, when I talk about personality types and the way people look at, when we look at the way a person deals with failures, or when the way a person deals with success, even for that matter, is there a difference in the way people's behavior is different depending on the personality type that they are?
Certainly. So I'm certified on two types of personality tools. One is the MBTI and the other one is DISC. So I'm more proficient with MBTI. I have trained almost 600 to 700 people in the corporates and outside on this tool. So they say all of us are divided into two categories. Either we are focused on the outside things of the world, or into inside things of the world. So they say more broadly extrovert or introvert. Some people get the energy by with other people, and there are others who reflect within themselves and get the energies. And that's the difference between the extrovert and introvert. Now, when it comes to failure, the extroverts, they have a different way of dealing with the failure. They would like to go and talk to the entire world about it. And although it is not right as per the law of attraction, they attract more of such events which would cause failure because they're emitting that frequency of failure. But that's how they actually release themselves. They release their negative feelings for failure. Whereas the introverts, keep reflecting within themselves about the situation. I wouldn't use the word failure. I would use the word feedback or feed forward, as you said.
Yeah.
But they keep reflecting what caused it, why it happened to me, why me, what can be done differently. So they go so much into themselves, and everything is okay. And now this is innate. The thing that I want to tell people here on this platform is that personality type is innate. You cannot change too much. However, it changes with the environmental influences. But there is an innate personality which comes with you when you're born. There's something called genetic about it. So what you can change is anything in excessive is wrong, is not right for you. So whether you're an introvert or an extrovert, you have to make sure that you keep balance with yourself. So in a different situation, different events, you have to actually tell yourself and prick yourself at, I have had this situation, I have had this event, and I have negative emotions, and I'm an extrovert. I know my personality. I am an extrovert. However, with my negative emotions, I should not be going out and talking to people about this negative situation, even if it relieves me,
Mm,
because I will be I will continue to endorse those negative emotions inside me, and I might send those frequencies. Similarly, when it comes to the introverts, they should realize that if they keep reflecting within themselves and keep meditating on those negative emotions, they are again deepening those negative emotions. So they have to stop it. So in
mm.
both the cases, negativity has to be stopped. Failure has meditating on failure has to be stopped. So yes, they have different styles.
I love when you said meditating on failure because isn't that what we do? We're constantly harping on the fact that okay, I failed, and you're stuck on that. Tell me something. What there is this taboo that people have when they feel hesitant to say that they're an introvert. And there are people who are actually public speakers and motivational trainers and coaches who are actually introvert. They go inwards to find their energy. Yet some people, when they're on their journey moving forward, they feel like, oh, if I told the world that I was an introvert, they wouldn't kind of accept me as that loud or that person with a message. So what are your take? What's your take on that?
Very, very interesting and a good question for people to know, Rukia. Thanks for asking that. Now, you're right. There is a social stigma attached to that part of your personality. It is very cultural. Now, if we both come from India, and you would agree with me that in many families and lot of people in India, when we were growing up, especially I can talk about myself. When I was growing up, I had to listen to a lot of this. Don't speak so much. Don't talk to so many people. You talk a lot, and because I'm not an extrovert, really an extrovert. I'm an ambivert. I'm in the middle. But I had to listen to a lot of these things from society and my parents. So basically, I had to actually tell myself. I go into my negative emotions. However, this helped me later in my life when I was in human resources, when I was in training, that was helping me. And then I went back to my mom and said, "Hey, mom, I get paid for talking, so don't ask me to stop talking." Right? And however, if you go to the Western countries, people are naturally extrovert, and it is respected, whatever type you are. So what I tell people is, if you are an introvert, if you and you are a trainer, see, now this is what happens. You may be into a wrong career because of your personality. Now, if you're an introvert and you are a trainer and you're making videos, right, and you are quite spontaneous, you speak extempore, so it comes very naturally for you. For an introvert, it wouldn't come so naturally. But what they have to remember and remind themselves is they have to anchor a certain action. So I have an action and I say, yes, yes, yes. And I do this 3 times before coming to a platform, before coming for a session, before for an interview like today. And I get that energy up, I pump myself up, and then it's easy for me. And there are techniques that introverts can use. But yeah, there's social stigma attached, and you just have to tell yourself it's okay.
Hmm. It is definitely okay to be who you are, absolutely. And when you said you've heard it from your parents not to speak a lot, to be very polite, I was always the shy kind, the one who wouldn't speak. I was always there to listen to friends, but never spoke my mind. So interestingly, when I met with my school teachers, we had a reunion 18 years after moving out of school, and my teachers met me, and they actually asked me the simple question of, "What happened to you?" Because from being that sudden quiet, in herself person, I became this person who was vibrant, who was talkative, who was happy to share, laugh, and just be my own self. And it just, I think it affects also, your personality also evolves over a period, I think. I mean, this has been my experience, because I got married to someone who's very vibrant, who's very, people's person. He's very, he likes socializing, he enjoys having friends over, entertaining. So for me, I think somewhere I picked up a lot of his traits, and that definitely helped me, because one of the limiting beliefs that I had to work on was that nobody listens to me. And guess what? I'm doing for a livelihood now.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So yeah. So when we look at failure, um, people say I failed. Sorry, people say I am a failure instead of saying I failed or I had a failure. What's your take on that, and how can people kind of turn that around to their benefit?
So a failure is a very relative term. Yeah. So if I say I have failed this year because I earned only $500,000 against my wish list of $1 million. So I terribly failed. I made only 50%. That's failure for me. Somebody else would say, wow, I made $50,000 this year, because his benchmark was $25,000 to make for that year. So it's so relative. What is failure for one is success for somebody else. So it's a paradigm. That is one. Second, failure actually is a feedback, which is to correct something in us. So failure can be in any area. It could be in relationships. It could be in career. It could be in health. Yeah, let's take an example of relationship. If there is a broken relationship and you seemingly have failed, it actually tells you that in the wheel of life, there are different sections. What area needs to be corrected? What area needs attention? What area needs more focus? What area needs more energy? So in a relationship, it'll actually, you will go and focus and find out what is the root cause. What could have happened? Is it because of communication? Is it because of your reaction? Is it because of your unbalanced emotional issues, emotional challenges, emotional intelligence? Do you need to work on emotional fitness? If a failure is in the area of career, you need to look at what has it happened because of. Is it because of the relationships at work, or is it because of your emotional issues, or is it because you need to upskill yourself? If it is in the health, now in the area of health, I would say that is the most prominent area, and an area to be focused on. Why do I say that? Now, if somebody has a slight illness, a health issue, uh, so suppose somebody is having a headache, okay, they take an aspirin. Next month again they have a headache and they take an aspirin. So there is a slight stress. But if this becomes a pattern, if a certain thing in illness becomes a pattern, they need to go to the root cause. Now the root cause could be something which is physical. The doctor would give them the reports and they would say, this is physical, you take this medicine. But for them to look at that is, what is causing that illness continuously, consistently, and what is the suppressed emotions they need to work on? What is the stress that's causing it? So it's always the physical illness is also always because of the caused because of the emotions which are unbalanced, which are suppressed inside. So if you're aware of your illnesses, you can work on any areas in your wheel of life.
Hmm.
That's how I would say failure helps us. It helps us to focus your attention on those weak spots of your life, which is asking you to work upon.
Hmm. So when I look at failure, or when I look at, how we look at failure after we move on, the realization is that, um, there's always something to pick from it. There's always something to learn from it, and very often we resist failure because we feel like, it becomes a label. We fear failure because we've been told that you have to succeed. So, what's that beautiful sweet spot between failure and success?
the observation, the awareness of the cause. So,
Lovely.
as you just said before we started this conversation, when I said feedback and you said feed forward. So,
Yeah.
turn that failure to feed forward, turn that learning to change your future. And that's the sweet spot. Very
Hmm.
simple.
And most often, we don't pick up that lesson until life truly slaps you across the face, because
Right.
we tend to kind of push our the issues that we have under the carpet. We don't want to address them. We feel like, oh, it's just going to cause us to cough and let's just keep it aside for another day. And before you know it, it's piling up into a little mountain under the carpet, and it's a bump, and you trip over and you fall, and then you get hurt. And then when you finally get hurt, you realize, okay, I have to address this. And I think that's the space I was at when we had that breakthrough session on in Master Prac, where I wasn't budging. I was being stubborn, and you were being as sweet as you are. You tried every trick in the book, and I said I gave you all the right answers, but refused to budge, refused to have that realization. And then we were told that you would decline me as a client because I wasn't willing to have that breakthrough, and to be told to lie down on my stomach, because one of the things and beliefs that I had was people treat me like a doormat. And then to lie down there and to have the lead coach wipe her feet on my back was like that moment where I realized, so this is what I'm doing with myself. And that's when I broke down and I realized, no, I do not want people to treat me this way. Yet I was still waiting for instructions. I didn't know whether I wanted to sit up for myself, whether I was allowed to do that, because we're constantly waiting for someone else to tell us what to do. And then to be told off that, okay, after 12 days of learning, if you still need to be told what to do, um, then what's the point of all of this? And that's when everything kind of shifted. That's where the paradigm shifted, where I realized, no, no more. Nobody gets to treat me like a doormat. I'm sitting up for myself, and that was that for me. So, when long story short, when does a person truly realize that they have to turn failure around?
Uh, Actually, thank you for sharing your story. It's very, very powerful. People realize, unfortunately, Rukia, unfortunately, in this world, it is only when people are slapped they realize. And they wait to be slapped, fail, to go rock bottom, to go into the awful zone by various situations, by the universe, thrown into the mud, and then they realize it's not the right thing to do. Yesterday, I was attending Kane's training on Wealth Rockstar, and one point he said, and this is something for us to know, especially during these times, pandemic situation. We're all talking about positivity, positive thinking, love yourself, blah 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 blah. All that, it is good, you have to do all of that, but then you have to keep that balance. You have to be he said, be very fierce with yourself, be honest, be have that integrity with yourself. Stop lying to yourself. Bloody hell, don't you know what your weak areas are? Do you need somebody else to tell you? Everyone knows what his weak areas are. It's just that we turn a blind eye towards it, and we don't
Hmm.
know our blind spots. So just face the mirror, work on yourself, and you'll make success. It's as simple as that.
I do agree, because and for those of us who say they don't know what their weak areas are, I'd like to ask them, what is that pretense of ignorance letting you do? Because it's kind of like, okay, if I don't know, I don't know, but you can't know what you don't know until you really know it. You have to know yourself completely, and it's only when you take that step forward and have the courage to get to know yourself, is when you're going to discover. Some of us have discovered it, but we're pretending not to know because it's
Right.
comfortable. you don't have to make a change, right?
Yeah, true. And then this also connects to, this leads us to talking about resilience. Because the more resilience you have, you are in a more, you're in a stronger situation to accept failure, whatever you call failure, whatever word you call it. But then it's all upon your strength of taking in failures and moving on. How quickly do you move on? There are people who say they get into depressions, they take antidepressants, so on and so forth. And there are others who wouldn't take a long time, a couple of days, and they get out of the big failures and they start moving on. So it all depends on how much you've worked on yourself at the end of the day. Isn't COVID-19 a pandemic situation proving that to the world? How much you have, how disciplined you are, how much did you care for your health? uh, what, what have you done on yourself? What work have you done on yourself? And it's all proving now.
Hmm.
So at the end of the day, it all boils down to your inner resilience.
True. And one of the analogies that I use is of you being on a train, where you're on a train going through this really dark tunnel. And on in that dark tunnel, when you don't really know when the train will come out the other side, it's just the driver of the train who knows it. Yet when you're in that moment where you're passing through the tunnel, everything feels amplified. Everything around you, every kind of information that you're receiving, whether it's the news of losses, whether it's the news of people passing on, whether it's people falling ill, your everything just begins to feel amplified. And the idea here is to, instead of getting up and panicking and disturbing others, the idea is to kind of focus on yourself, go within, see what you can do. I know people who've now kind of started doing service, supporting others who are in trouble. There are people who are running cooking classes on YouTube because they've discovered they have the sudden passion for YouTube, for cooking. Or it could be that, or they experiment with recipes because they can't go to restaurants. Whatever it is, they found something even in this situation that we are in. And I think that's what defines what you are or who you are being, because as you said rightfully, resilience, how resilient are you in a situation is what makes or breaks who you are.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah.
So tell
So,
me. Yeah.
yeah, I have a question to ask you. So when you decided to start your daily videos, uh, you underwent a certain a situation yourself, and you
Mhm.
just sprang back and you may turn that around and create a completely new journey and a different world for yourself. So today, looking back, how what is your advice to people to deal with those kind of events which actually kind of you know completely change you or completely
Okay.
break you?
I get where you're going, and it's thank you for the empathy. And yes, it was a difficult situation. It was a time when I had lost Papa, and my children had also left the nest. So I'm a very attached mother, if you may call it, because a lot of the work that I do is also because I know my children are watching. That's the reason I started writing, because I realized, okay, this is the standard or the role model that they have at home to look up to. And I used to, the reason my page is called RK Writes is because until then I would just share my quotes. As you might have noticed, I'm a bit of a talkative person. So every time I'd have an interesting conversation with a friend or during coaching, and if I came up with something that felt like, wow, that was an interesting thought, I would jot it down and I would share it on the page. So, and I had this collection that was being auto saved on Instagram. Um, I had a conversation with my son actually, where he asked me about accountability, and this was a few months of me not doing much. He asked me about accountability, and that got me thinking that you're right, I haven't been doing much. And that's where I made the list, because one of the things that I had wanted to do was to come up with a perpetual calendar of my quotes. I thought that would be a nice project to have. So I started making a list. But once I got back to UAE from Australia, I was visiting the kids. I realized that I was getting back into that pattern of not wanting to face the empty house. I was again slipping into that old cycle of waking up late. And so I said, how can I challenge myself? And I asked and this is also why I call them Circle of Genius, because I asked them and they said yes. They said, yes, we'd like to see you doing videos. And so your wish is my command. Day one, sitting on the sofa with a selfie stick, looking really scared and doing the video. Lots of people watching, watching on replay, supporting it. Day two, day three. By day three, I broke down already. Um, but when I broke down, it created the space for the others to realize, even if you're a coach, even if you're a master practitioner, NLP, you're doing mindset training for people, you still can break down. You're human at the end of the day. You have to own up to your emotions. You have to be honest with them. Somewhere along the line, people started kind of joining in. I started getting messages from around different parts of the world, people sending me messages about how they're connecting with their children, how they're bettering their relationship as a husband and wife, how a teacher is with their students. It just started creating these little lampposts of hope and trust. And so it just kept going. At day 700, I thought I would stop. But somebody again messaged me saying, please don't, you're helping me. And these are people I don't even know. So to answer your question, yes, there will be good days and bad, but you just have to trust that what you're doing is larger than you are. 2 days back, I had a bad day and I just felt like I don't want to do the live. So I gave myself some time to, just come to that mind space, and then I presented. So being kind to yourself when you're going through a challenge, I think that's also very important.
Right.
Hmm.
And during this virtual world, the Zoom world, one of the message that I would like to give to people who are on this platform today is that there is a lot of hype about looking right, being right, saying right things, and then you become unreal. So
Yep.
if you're actually on the live video, or you're making a video, if there's something which is missing, something which is you pause for a moment. If English is not your first language and you stutter, or you take certain pauses, or you're struggling for certain words, it's all right. People should not judge, and you should not feel you're being judged. You're just being yourself. But if your content is right, if your thought process is right, if your message is right, just be yourself
True.
and move
And
on.
absolutely. And okay, like we've had these sessions, Wise Wednesdays, for like what, today's episode 27. And we've spoken on different topics, right? From respecting boundaries to food to, mindset and so many others. And very often topics kind of overlap and weave. And I might have shared this tunnel story 3 times already on Wise Wednesdays. But you know what? Maybe there's that one person today who's watching and they haven't heard it. So even at the cost of feeling like you're being repetitive, it's okay to share a story. It's okay to share a thought, because you never know who's going to receive it and what impact that's going to make. And that's so important for us as a coach. So yeah.
Right. Absolutely.
How do you manage when it comes to emotions? No, when it comes to emotions and being honest, speak to me about the significance of being honest with your emotions.
So, good question, Rukia. And I wanted to move on to this subject of our topic today. How do you turn the failure around? Yeah,
Yes,
because
please.
that is why people would have joined us and they would want to be hearing. And emotions is a big part of it. So, I talk about a story, you have to change your story. So, what's your current story? You observe. So, what is your emotional story? Yeah. So, for example, let's take an example of somebody worried on a job. Yeah. Now, what are the emotions right now? If the emotions are of fear, he's coming from the space of fear, he's struggling, he might start attract his performance will start to change in the organization because he's coming from the space of fear. He might start talking or gossiping. He might start finding faults in the areas. His performance may start going down, and eventually he may lose the job. That's what I can think of. So, a negative emotion, even if there is no uh, currently, if there is no negative situation, can actually lead to causing that negative situation. So, how do you turn that around? How do you turn the negative emotions? So, what I say is there is only one way you can turn around any failure, and that is there are three things you have to work on. Okay. So, you have to make sure that you are in sync with those three things. One is the head, the thoughts, yeah, or the actions, because thoughts lead to actions, your language, and your feelings. So I say speak, feel, and do. Speak is the language, feel is the emotions, and do is the actions and behavior. If you really want your job, your entire speak, feel, do story should reflect that. Your language has to be exactly right to make sure that it is giving, emitting, and a vibration and the feeling to others that you really love your job. All your actions and behaviors are to excel in your job, and your feelings are that you love the platform, the employer, the organization, rather than contradicting through any of these areas. So you have to be in sync in all of these areas, and you will 100% meet success.
All right. I'm trying something very interesting. Apparently, the comments have not been coming in, which is why I was wondering what is going on. It's just like what happened last week, 2 weeks ago. And while you were speaking, I went on to see what's going on. So we have Cindy watching, we have Vidya watching, we have Shola who's joined us, People's Transformation Strategist. She says, "Wow." We have Dale watching us all the way from US, Ohio. We have Vertica watching, Vertica Bish watching, and I'm assuming she's part of your tribe. So yes. Sharon has asked a very nice question. She says, "How do you have a balance?" I'm just going to read through these questions very quickly. For whatever reason, guys, I'm very, very sorry they weren't showing up, which is why we haven't addressed them. I'm very sorry. I just kind of am now looking at my phone and addressing it as we go along. So Sharon's question is, how do you have a balance? Dale says, I've recently been going through this and I almost died because of my legs. I think he's talking about pain and things where it comes from. For me, it took looking death in the face to want to fight to live. And I've been in conversation with Dale in private about what he does every day in terms of a little bit of exercise, a little bit of movement. And thank you, Dale. Sandra's watching us. She says, "We're listening to you now." Vidya says, "Naughty Rukaya now." Okay, this is the question. Uh, Dale says, "I almost gave up due to screaming. Pain is easy to die." He also says, "You feel like family now, Dale." Thank you, Dale, for you are absolutely part of my family. So let's go back to Sharon's question. How do you find balance?
Right. Thank you everyone for being part of this platform and watching this, watching us talking, chatting, becoming a chatterbox. And we were thinking the comments are not coming, so we were nicely chatting amongst ourselves. So thank you for enjoying and being part of it. So how do you create a balance in your life? So if you all have heard about this wheel of balance, yeah, it was in 2015 in NLP coaching training that I learned about this wheel of life. And I now, every training that I start is through this assessment. So you assess yourself which area in your life is not right. So what you do is there is a circle and you divide it into 7 8 sections and you put the name to that section. It could be relationship, it could be fun, it could be family, relaxation, money, health, whatever. and you rate yourself in each section. So between 0 being the lowest and 10 being the highest, you rate yourself, and then you find out which area has the lowest rating. So suppose you have, I came out that time in 2015, relationship was rated by me as 3. And then I realized, oh, during the journey to go up to in the corporate on the corporate ladder, I was actually ignoring my relationships, and then I gave a lot of conscious attention to the relationships. And now, if I have to rate my relationships, I would rate myself at 9 or on 10. So
Hmm.
this is how you find where you are. So the step number 1 is assess yourself. Where is the weak area? And the step number 2 is you just take some actions. Just put 1 or 2 or 3 maximum actions to improve on that particular area. And you will realize that your life is becoming balanced. So at the minute, I feel so proud to have a balanced wheel of life. Otherwise, if you're riding on an unbalanced wheel of life, you're sure to fall at some point
Hmm.
of time.
So it's kind of like when you say the spokes being like when you said it's at a 3. Sometimes we focus so much on health and we focus so much on finances for those of us who are career driven that we feel we get a little left behind when it comes to relationships. Some of us give so much to relationships and to career that me time gets left behind, and
Right.
everything kind of starts toppling over. So it's kind of like when you say wheel of life, that's exactly what it is. It has to have a balance across all areas, all sectors. And as far as I understand this, it's not a one size fits all wheel of life, because everybody could have different sections that are important to them, right? So it's important to also identify what is important to you. Your thoughts on that?
Absolutely. We have different priorities at different stages of life. Today, health may be more important for us, and tomorrow, working on with the family, the kids are more important because they need more attention while they're smaller or younger. So yes, but it is what seems right to you, what works for you, what is your priority. However, what is more important is that you cannot be in a rating of 2 or 3 in any area of your life. So if it is you're happy with 6 in all areas of your life, it is still a balanced wheel because you have 6 in all areas of your life.
Hmm.
But assess yourself, to be honest with yourself, and take an action, and that's it. It's very simple.
So having honesty, again, we come back to honesty because it's when you look at things that are going on, it's important for you to see things for the way they are and not pretending they're not the way they are, because sometimes we compare ourselves to the others and we feel that we have to be in a particular way. For the longest of times, I used to wonder, okay, I come across as somebody who's, I don't know. I have a different image when I think of an executive coach, or when I think of a somebody who is a presenter. I have a very different impression of it. But then when I look at who I am and what I bring to the table, that's me. I'm a storyteller. I'm someone who's in flow. And I could never. I mean, the first and the only presentation I did with a proper PowerPoint and a clicker that didn't work was a TEDx talk, and that left me like literally overwhelmed. So I can't be that person. But for some people, if you ask to be in flow, that might feel overwhelming. So it's important also to not compare yourself and complicate things, right?
Right, right. That's a very important point you said, and I see you, and I learn from you actually. They say in the digital world, in the training world, it is very important to be an influencer, to have so many posts, on the social media, on all your channels, and control all of that. And I was talking to my brother today in the morning. I said, if I have to be an influencer, I would rather I have to be authentic. I cannot pay money to the social handles and then become an influencer. So you have to be authentic, you have to be real, and be the person you are. When I give your example, not everyone has a website, so the businesses were running traditionally as well. okay, you have to be on the digital platform, but then you still can be yourself.
True. And that's the most important. And I think to be able to be yourself, you need to have those difficult conversations. You need to address things the way they are,
Right.
and see a failure for a failure, and not just say, okay, it was because of somebody else, because it's easier to push the blame on somebody else instead of taking that, having that accountability. And having said that word, it just reminds me once more of me and my conversation with Abu, with my son, where he asked me, "So, Ma, what have you been up to?" That is literally what he said. He looked straight in my eye, and at age 18, he asks me, "So, Ma, what have you been up to?" My immediate response was, "I'm your mother. You're not supposed to speak to me like that." I
Right.
had my defenses up. I thought I'll use my authority card. But, well, he's my son at the end of the day. And he goes, "Yeah, all of that is fine. But what about accountability?"
Yeah.
So the day you realize that you are responsible for your life and nobody else, I think that's the day it really shifts, it changes perspective.
Right. That's the turnaround point. That's the turning point for anyone.
For anyone. And I think, Nishi, when you shared about your accident, and you speak of it so humbly, but I think that was the turning point for you, because you realized it's me for me.
Right. So yeah, you hear lots of such stories. I was minus 20 kgs. I mean, I'm still I can say I'm okay. Or I'm at the border or the underweight, but I was minus 20, and I was not walking straight. I was walking at 90 degrees angle. That is how much my back was bent with 7 fractures, and I have disc problem in all of my entire spine. I have disc. So today I have loads of problems, but I decided to move on. Now, this is my message to everyone. It is a journey. Life is a journey, like in a train or in a plane. You go through these the clouds and the turbulations. It's a journey, so you have to take it as a journey and just keep working on your resilience rather than working on having a very smooth journey. It is never going to happen. So the people who are very, very strong in their mindset and physically or in relationships, do you think they don't go through challenges in life? They do, but they don't talk about it so often. So just be in now, be in the flow, be as you are, love yourself, and get out all your strengths and get it onto your conscious. There's a conscious competence. So bring
Mm,
all your competence on your conscience, and remember that and celebrate that. That's all. I mean, it's all there inside you. The abundance is already there. And the abundance is also there in the universe. You just have to go and pick it up by just matching your own frequencies with the frequency of the universe. And that's it. It's a matchmaking game.
true. We have this question from Cindy, who says, "What if you don't want to turn things around? Why do people stay in the problem of or failure, and how do you move them from wanting them to climb out of the hole?"
Very good question, Cindy. Uh, People must have heard about Pollyanna, and there are people who think very, very high of themselves. Yeah, and that's Pollyanna. They think always positive about themselves. Now, Cindy's question is, what if you don't want to change? And there are people. There are lots and lots. I think majority is they're just happy. They say they're happy. They are the way they are, but they are not happy. They are not happy, but they don't want to change because whatever is happening to them, whatever the pain is coming to them, they put the blame on others, and that's why they don't want to change. The day the realization comes that it is your 100% responsibility of whatever is happening to you, and then you will start to change. And again, even if you don't want to change for yourself, you probably might be impacting somebody else negatively the way you are. then you're limiting language, you're limiting beliefs, your old traditional methods, your patterns, your emotions. And if you don't change, you are impacting others negatively. So what if you change and turn that around?
Hmm.
Think of the joy that will come, or for others, if not for yourself. So different people will have a different motivation and reason to change. Some people like us, we change for our own growth and development, because we know when we change, we create that happiness around. For others, the reason could be somebody else. They want to bring that smile on the family, for the spouse, for the children, or whatever. So find out your reason for changing.
True that. So we have okay, so life is a journey. This COVID situation demands hell lot of resilience and positive mindset. Change is constant. Adapt and survive or get knocked out. Very simple. Well said, Nishi. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Dale has added here. He says, for me, my imbalance was a combination of low self-esteem, anxiety, and weak core strength. And he's building up on that. Um, and that's such a privilege to watch him. And when he sends me those messages saying, I did this today, I did that today. So that's really good.
Brilliant.
Tell me, I love what Rohit also said about life being a journey. And yes, the COVID situation has demanded a lot of resilience and a positive mindset from each and every one of us, and it's important. I love what you said, Nishi, about sometimes you don't want to do it for yourself, but it's because you realize that you're impacting the others that you should consider making that change, and that's so important. And and also it's important to understand that you're welcome, Rohit. Rohit says, thank you for acknowledging my comment, Rukaya. And he writes Rukaya with the capital Q because most people misspell it with a K, and I've actually used that on my website, Rohit. He knows that. So thank you for coming on board and participating. What I was talking about was giving yourself time. Sometimes it's important to give yourself time, to just be kind and be ready for that change, because as Cindy was saying, what if people don't want to turn things around, and you have to kind of be a little more patient with them and give them those evidences, I guess, that happiness is a choice. Shifting perspective is a choice. To come out of that victim mindset is a choice. What are your thoughts on that?
Uh, Absolutely. Everything in life is a choice. And similarly, reflecting within and change is also a choice. I would ask you to do this mirror exercise, which is a very popular exercise. So when you get up in the morning, you stand in front of the mirror and you look at yourself. Trust me on this. You watch yourself in the mirror for 5 minutes. Tears will roll down your eyes. You will not be able to do it. So you do this exercise. You look at yourself. Look into your eyes, right? And whatever feelings and thoughts, whatever is coming on your mind, that is an area to work upon.
Hmm.
Because what will come up at that point of time, whatever is coming up, needs to be corrected within you. And that, if some people don't know what to change, things, it's okay. They're in comfort zone. As you know, there are three zones: awful zone, comfort zone, and brilliant zone. So if you are in comfort zone and you don't know what area to change, do this exercise. And yes, change is a choice. So either you be as you are and wait for the universe or the situations or the events to give you a slap, not so strong slap, but it's still painful.
Yeah.
Or you decide to change now, but find out your reason. You might be wanting to change for your that little one who is watching you every day, who is creating his own belief system, copying your belief system. So what if your belief systems are wrong? If your discipline is wrong, there is no discipline. There's no scheduling. There is no thought process, but somebody you are creating another human being. So be careful.
True. Cindy says, beautiful answer, very clear. Thank you so much, Cindy. I literally have to keep going back. One thing I'm deciding for today is I'm not going to be using StreamYard because it's been giving me trouble last time as well, and this as well. So, guys, I'm very sorry for the delay in addressing the comments that have come in on the Facebook platform. YouTube seems to be quite working well. So, if in case I don't figure out how to do this the next time, YouTube would be the best place to come on board for next week's session of Wise Wednesdays. Rohit says, Nishi, how jealousy can be won by simplicity and a smile? That's a question. And I know we're past the hour, but Nishi, that's a very important question. How jealousy can be won by simplicity and smile?
I think Rukia would be a better person to answer this if you want, because you're talking about smile. But I can give you a smaller answer. Very, very simply, Rohit. Anything you want to change. In this case, jealousy. Just say the person uh, where you have jealousy, that connection of jealousy with. Say thank you to that person. Offer gratitude, and you will realize the relationship will start changing. Whoever that person is, say thank you for and try to find out that one positive thing in him. The jealousy will fly away. And on the smile, Rukia is the guru of smile, so she will answer.
So I am working on another acronym at the moment called GROW. It's about how you can grow through what you go through. And Kosaji, who was on the show a couple of weeks back, shared this. And prior to that, I spoke of this at the Economic Forum. And the idea is to have gratitude, to have resilience, to have ownership, and to have wonderment. And when I say wonderment, I mean having that childlike curiosity. So when you look at jealousy, it can be won over by simplicity and a smile, because that's the whole thing, isn't it? When you're being simple in your approach of gratitude, when you're being resilient to that and not letting that impact you, taking ownership of whatever might be coming up for you in that moment, and having that wonderment of childlike curiosity that, okay, if there is some kind of jealousy coming up for that person or for me, what is it saying about me? What is it saying about them? And not taking it personally. That's so important. So yes, simplicity and smile definitely nails it. Thank you, Rohit. Great question. Neha says it's her first time here and she loves it. Thank you, Neha, and thank you for liking the page as well. Dale says, Nishi, you're amazing in strength. So yes, there you have a fan.
Thank you. Thank you.
So great. Thank you guys for joining in. And once again, I apologize for the little glitch. Rohit says, I want to remain childlike forever. Then stay in touch with me. Yes, you should be childlike forever. Because yes, that's the whole magic of a smile. That's the magic of growth, and that's the magic of people transformation. So thank you, Nishi, for coming on board, for giving us your time, insights, and your strength. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Raquel, for giving me this platform to share my thoughts with such amazing, lovely people. And thanks to all of you to have joined in. For some, it is quite late in the day, and for some, it is the middle of the day or the morning, and from all parts of the world. So thank you, Rukia, for your tribe, and gratitude to all of you. Hope to see
Thank
you
you.
soon again at some platform.
Thank you so much and have a lovely session. And for those of you catching up on replay, do leave in your comments. I will share with you how you can get in touch with Nishi, the amazing person that she is, the amazing coach and speaker and people transformation. No, what was that? People transformation strategist. That's who she is. Speak to you later. Bye bye. Thank you. Good night. God bless. Bye
Bye
for now.
bye. Good night.
Good night.